Hey everybody, and welcome back to Jim's Garage. In this video, the second in the home automation series, we'll be setting up an MQTT broker with Mosquitto. Now, what the hell does that mean? Well, MQTT is an open standard protocol specifically designed for IoT, Internet of Things devices. It's really lightweight and it acts upon a publish and subscribe model. So you will have some basic sensors that use MQTT because it's extremely lightweight. And then you'll have a broker that collects that data, and then you'll have clients that subscribe to that data. Hopefully that's pretty straightforward. Now, in this video, I'm going to give you a little bit of a background and some diagrams about how this works. And then we're going to be spinning up Mosquitto in Docker, and I'll also share the Kubernetes manifest file for that as well. But I'm not actually going to show you how to use it in depth. We'll do that later once we set up Home Assistant and then we start to connect devices to MQTT and then subscribe with Home Assistant. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, think of it like this. You push a button on a switch, it sends an MQTT message to the Docker container that's waiting and listening. It picks up that message. Home Assistant is also connected to the broker, so the broker sits in the middle. When it sees in the logs a request come in from a switch to do something, you then program within Home Assistant what that click does. So switch 1 registers a single click. You've configured it so that that switch with that ID, when it does a single click, it turns on a light, it turns on multiple lights, it turns on your heating, whatever you want it to do. And we'll come on to all of that later in the series. So some of the cool things about MQTT is the fact that it's so lightweight and efficient. So using it on IoT devices makes a lot of sense, where there's often very limited processing power on these microcontrollers, and they're often battery operated. So it kind of makes sense. You don't want these batteries to run out frequently, you'll have to change them. Bidirectional communication is also enabled, which is great for sending and receiving messages across the network. It can scale massively to millions of things. Reliability of messages is also embedded into the protocol. It's why it has 3 defined quality levels: 0 at most, 1 at least, and 2 exactly once. It has support for unreliable networks, for persistent sessions, and this reduces the time to reconnect the client with the broker. And for anyone who's accidentally turned off things like their smart lights or smart device or the batteries run out, that's really important, because as soon as you put things back in, replace batteries, etc., you want things to be up and running swiftly. Another massive benefit is TLS security, which is embedded into MQTT so that signals can be sent securely and there's no risk of them being intercepted across your network. Again, very important for things like IoT, where we don't necessarily always trust the manufacturer. So, as I mentioned, we're going to be deploying an MQTT broker courtesy of Mosquitto. What's Mosquitto? Well, it's probably the most popular open source broker for MQTT. Now, as I've said before, this isn't necessarily the only product that does this. This is what I've been using for years, and it's worked really well for me. So let's hop over now to VS Code and let's have a review of the Docker Compose file, and I'll discuss some of the options that you can tailor and tweak further if you wanted to. Now, thankfully, the Docker Compose file for this deployment is pretty simple, but the configuration file is a little bit more complicated. So whilst I'll give you a working config file for this video, do go and read up on it, and I'll flash that up on screen now so that you can see it. But basically there are a whole host of options, and I can't guess exactly what your setup needs to be like. If you're learning this, like I assume you are, let's keep it really simple and we can add complexity as and when we need it. Some of the more complex items are things like authentication, TLS certificates, having different listener groups, different user groups, etc., so that you can start to break up your IoT devices. Probably not required for a home lab setup, but if you're doing this in enterprise or industry or something like that, you probably want to have those feature sets for security and other conveniences. So going through the Docker Compose file, pretty straightforward. I've called it Mosquitto. I'm using the latest version. I want this to always restart because we want to be able to control things even if our server needs to reboot. I've put some constraints in there for my deployment, so I've set it so that it can only use 256 megs of RAM. I think that's fine for a lightweight home lab setup. Remember, as I said at the beginning of this, one of the key advantages of Mosquitto is that it is lightweight. But if you're wanting to scale this up, or maybe you've got hundreds, thousands of devices, I don't know what you're running, do bear in mind you can increase that, or you could remove it if you just want to allow it to dynamically expand. Mosquitto only uses 2 ports for the deployment, that's 1883 and 9001. And then we get onto the volumes. So the mosquitto.conf is the complex one, which we'll have a little look at in a moment. But the other 2 are basically where it's going to store its data and where it's going to keep its logs. So map those folders to exactly where you need them. And I've also set the security option of no new privileges to true. You could obviously add things like a Mac VLAN here if you wanted to put it onto its own dedicated subnet. I'm not going to do that in this video, but I provided examples of that in previous videos. So now we've gone through the compose file, let's have a look at the config file. Now the configuration file looks pretty straightforward, but there's a whole host more that I'm not even touching in this setup just to make it less intimidating. The first thing you'll notice is the allow anonymous false. Now, what does that do? Well, it prevents anonymous users connecting to your broker. You might wish to set this to true when you're just starting up. That will remove any form of authentication to your broker, so any device will be able to connect and post things to it. Obviously, from a security standpoint, that could be a problem. Very likely for a home setup, especially if you're living somewhere detached, whatever, away from everybody else. Probably not an issue, but we're going to cover the security aspect through using authentication anyway, just to make sure. The next is to set up 2 listeners, and if you've been following any of my videos, you know what they are. These are ports that the broker will be listening to. Now, in the Docker Compose, we expose the 2 ports, the 1883 and 9001. So within the application configuration, we set up Mosquitto to use those ports to listen for things coming in. Those will be connections coming in, connections going out, etc. Next, we're going to set it up to use a protocol of WebSockets, which should be straightforward. We're going to say that we want persistence to be true. Then we're going to set some volumes to be mapped. So the idea is that it's going to write this stuff to disk so that it maintains persistence during a shutdown, so you don't need to have to change this and reconfigure it every single time. Like I said, this is a very minimalist setup and there are a ton more things under the hood. One of the key things here you'll notice is that password file, and once we've spun up this container, we'll go and create that so that we've got a username and a password for connecting devices to our network. And it is recommended that you use TLS certificates for this. I'm not going to go down that route for this video. That's because often a lot of devices, certainly in the home lab space, they don't offer you that privilege of uploading certificates to the device. And also, it might be a case that some devices don't actually allow you to use a username and password as well. So you may end up having to just do anonymous equals true. The good news is, in a sort of heterogeneous setup, you could have some devices on one listener that are all authenticated, and you could have others on another that aren't authenticated, so it can get around that problem. Anyway, let's now deploy this container, and we'll create the authentication mechanism. Okay, so I've remoted into my Docker host now. I've copied over the Docker Compose file, and I've also copied the mosquitto.conf file. I've put that into the location in the Mosquitto folder under config and then the mosquitto.conf file. So going back to the Docker Compose file, it's this volume here. That's where I've copied the config file, because when we run this with the sudo docker compose up-d command, it's going to expect to find that configuration file. But one thing, and I almost forgot, we need to create the password file. So here you'll see that pw file, which is expected to be in the config folder. We need to create that. So let's go over to the config. Let's right click. I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call this one pw file. So I'm going to save that. It's going to be blank. We're actually going to exec into the container once it's spun up, and then we can create this file i.e. we can populate it with prompts from the container itself, so we don't need to manually edit anything in here. Now that we've created that file, we actually need to map it. So back to our compose file, you can see I've added this line here. So I've basically mapped that password file from config pw file, which is up here. I've mapped that to inside the container. So that's there. And now everything should match up. /mosquito config pw file, that's what's in here, and that's what's mounted from here, which is the folder I just showed on the left. So now hopefully when we run the sudo docker compose up-d, that's going to go away and create, and hopefully we'll see some successful log output. Let's go and check. So now you can see that Mosquitto version 2.0.18 is started. We've got a little error message, which is just about the permissions of the PW file. That should have been set to 700, so do go and fix that. But you can see that it's listening on IPv4 and 6 to 1883, and the WebSocket is running on 9001. So that's pretty good. We should now be able to execute into the container and populate that password file. So you can do that using the docker exec command, interactive mode with Mosquitto, running a shell, and that will take you in. Or if you wanted to and keep it simple like I've done previously, things like Portainer, for example, you can actually just go in through the web browser, which is pretty easy to do. All you need to do is click on the console button, choose the SH, and then click connect, and it's exactly the same thing. So just choose what you want to do. I'm going to do it in VS Code because I've had a few people saying, why do you use Portainer? So we're going to do it that way this time, but the commands are going to be exactly the same. So just choose whatever you like. So now we need to create our first user, and when we do that, it's going to prompt us for a password. So I've done Mosquitto password, that's the command. It's looking for the config file, so that's the password file, the one we specified, and I've just called this user1. So when I hit return, it's now asking for a password. I'll do user1 just to keep it simple. Reconfirm. And again, it's complaining about it being readable, so I'm going to have to go and fix that for later videos. But that should now be populated, and with any luck, if we look at the PW file, you'll see here, yeah, we've got user1 and that's a hashed password. So that's great. If we want to delete a user, we can use a similar command. For that, we just do the Mosquitto password command again, but with a -d instead of a -c. Sorry, I think I said that was config before. It's actually create. So we're going to do that, and that should have deleted. And now if we reload this page, we can see that it's now empty. So I'm going to recreate the original user just to make life easier for this. And now we have a user that we can use for our Mosquitto broker. Now, as I said at the beginning of this video, we're not actually going to be using this just yet. We've again built another building block that's going to get us to where we need to be in the end. So in the first video, I showed you how to connect up the hardware and a little bit about what Zigbee is. In this video, we've kind of put the middleware in place so that that hardware can send signals and something is listening. In the next video, we're going to spin up Home Assistant, and I'll give you an overview of what Home Assistant is. And then in the next video after that, we'll then start to connect things like Home Assistant back to MQTT so that when an object is clicked, say a switch, we can listen for that event, and then we can make Home Assistant do something within our lab by sending a command back. So a switch sends an event to the MQTT broker. Home Assistant's set up as a client. It's got some logic built in. It will then say, Home Assistant, send back to the broker, and it will send a signal then back to the device. So you can see that whole loop, and we can do whatever we want within that space, which is why home automation is so powerful. Anyway, we're going to get onto that soon. Thanks very much for watching this video. Please let me know if you've got some other products that you use and how you use them in the comments below. But if you've liked this video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.